Steelers' drafting of Mason Rudolph. On Friday, Ben said, quote, "I was surprised when they took a quarterback because I thought that maybe in the third round you can get some really good football players that can help this team now. Nothing against Mason, I just don't know how backing up or being the third string helps us win now." We're joined once again by Rob Ryan. Rob, does Ben have a point?
I tell you what, no. This is the most competitive league there is, and every year people are drafted at everybody's positions, and it's called being competitive and things like that. That is a very immature attitude to have and say, oh, it's win now, whatever. Pittsburgh is one of the most professional organizations, in football. They've won more Super Bowls, and they've done it for a reason. You think back, they're going to draft the best player. They draft Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward's going to a defensive line where they have 3 All-Pros on it. And a 3-4 defense. That's everyone's an All-Pro. All right? He sits on the bench for 2 years, ends up now he's a perennial Pro Bowler. But is that a wasted pick? I don't think so.
Right.
Hines Ward, a 3rd-round pick, who was supposed to be a 1st-rounder like this quarterback was. He falls all the way to 3rd round because he doesn't have an ACL in one of his legs. All right? He had to sit on the bench for a year. Well, how'd that work? He's a Hall of Fame receiver. So Ben needs to play quarterback, which he does really, really well.
Right.
And let his teammates, let those guys select the best players for their team. And watch this big kid develop.
The only point Ben has is on top of his head, Joy. And unfortunately, that's not the point we're trying to make. Skip, here's the thing. This is what we know about great franchises. Great franchises that's run really well. Yep. What they do is that they find replacement to players before the player actually walks out of the door. So Ben Roethlisberger would like to see it because no matter what anybody tells you, when a quarterback leaves, they like to see the team struggle. Because you know why, Skip? It was because of me. We're having success because I was doing my thing. But here's the thing, Ben, that the Steelers are up against. Every other Friday, you're talking about retiring. So what do? Do they wait till you actually walk out the door before they try to find an adequate replacement? Who knows? All of a sudden, you might fall back in love with motorcycles again and hop on one with no helmet, and there you go through a windshield. Or you might take a road trip. There are a lot of college campuses open, this time of year, so we never know. The Steelers have to prepare for what is in the best interest of the Steelers. Because guess what Ben is doing, Skip? Preparing for what's in the best interest of Ben Roethlisberger. If he doesn't owe Mason Rudolph anything. But let me tell you how I did it, Skip. I felt that when they drafted Todd Heap, I felt if I got injured at any point during the season and Todd Heap had to play, if he wasn't ready, it was my fault. Because I was in the room with Todd Heap every day. Not the quarterback's coach, not the head coach, not the offensive coordinator. It was Shannon Sharp's job to share with Todd Heap the little nuances of what I've learned through the years and what could help him be successful.
Did you?
I absolutely did. And the one thing I told him is that never get beat in a game with what you've seen on tape. If you see it on tape, you don't get caught with that.
Yep.
If they show you something, they get to practice just like we do, Todd. But they're going to come up with something. Just react and play football. But
were you offended or hurt when they took him in the 1st round?
I was neither, because they had made me financially secure for the rest of my life, and they put my kids through college. So I was nothing. I think, and when Ozzie told me they were going to release me, I said, Ozzie, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to show that I was more than the West Coast offense. I was more than Mike Shanahan and John Elway. I thanked him. Ben, you don't
had to hurt your pride a little bit, just a little bit.
You're
a competitor.
I was thinking, like, okay, so now what do? Are they telling me because? But Skip, I had gone to the Pro Bowl. Me and Tony Gonzalez tied for the most catches. I was in year 12. Tony, I think, was in year 5 or 6. We had tied for the most catches for tight ends in the NFL. So I felt I could still play, but I understood. Skip, they took this guy in the 1st round. They didn't take him in the 1st round to sit for 2 years. They took him in the 1st round to sit for a year. I get it. Ben, just think, if something were to happen to you, the only reason that the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champs is because they had a guy that prepared. Ben, if something were to happen to you and Mason Rudolph has to play, and you being selfish, like I'm not teaching him anything because he made a joke, well, since he don't know, since I don't know him anything, if he asks me a question, I'm just going to point to the playbook. Yeah, that gets laughs right now. But if that guy has to play, then what?
Okay.
You won't be laughing.
So Ben is suggesting publicly that Kevin Colbert, the GM, lied to him ahead of the draft because he told Kevin Colbert, I'm good to play for 3 to 5 years. And he says Colbert assured him, I will not take a quarterback in the draft. That's what Ben says. I think Kevin Colbert meant not high, not in the first round, right?
Exactly.
I'm not going to take one of the stud quarterbacks and say, we're on a fast track to replace you, right? So what happens in the draft? They take that Terrell Edmonds with their first round pick, the linebacker. Safety. And then they get to the second round. You're going to take a second round quarterback? No, you're going to take that quarterback's receiver. You're going to take James Washington from Oklahoma State, who caught all the deep ball touchdown passes from Mason Rudolph.
Give you some help.
Okay? So you gave that to Ben Roethlisberger, a new toy, and he will be a toy to be reckoned with. So you gave him Juju Smith-Schuster a year ago. That worked out pretty well, right? So here's another weapon for your arsenal. You got a whole array of wide receivers. You gave up Martavis, obviously, to Oakland. So here we go, and it goes to the third round, and Kevin Colbert's looking at his board saying, I got a first-round grade on Mason Rudolph, like a later first-round grade. And he's just doing what draft masters do, and he's pretty good at the draft. And he says, I don't have any choice. I got to take him with my third-round pick. And Ben's saying, well, you cost me another player. Well, you got one for the defense and now one for the receiving core.
Well, Kevin Colbert should say, you cost me an offensive coordinator because the greatest years of your career was under Todd Haley. And basically, you threatened to retire if he wasn't gone. So then what? Ben, you act like you see Ben. See, this is what I'm starting to see about Ben. Ben really wants to accept no culpability when anything goes wrong, but he wants all the praise heat when everything goes right. Ben, Todd Haley is out of there. Your best seasons it happened under him. You're the only guy with 2 500-yard passing games under Todd Haley's watch. Your best numbers are under Todd Haley. But for whatever reason, both of you guys are stubborn, you're bullheaded, you want to do your thing. But the Steelers owe you nothing, Ben. The Steelers got to
help me out. When was the last time Ben Roethlisberger beat Tom Brady head-to-head? I don't know. So how much cachet do you have if you can't beat that guy one time? You're just owned by the New England Patriots, right?
Let me ask you a question. As we're starting to see, you think Bill Belichick goes to Tom Brady and tell him who we drafted? Aaron Rodgers is upset because they didn't tell him about they were getting rid of Jordy Nelson or letting his quarterbacks coach go Alex Van Pelt. So you got no more cachet than them. You think Sean Payton is telling, hey, Drew, what you think we should draft in the first or the second round this year? Ain't nobody got that kind of service. Ben, do you actually believe that the Steelers owe you that much, that they need to tell you who they're going to select and when they're going to select them?
Well, a year ago, New Orleans took Marshawn Lattimore in the first round. That didn't help Drew Brees immediately. It just helped the defense, right?
Can I break some news to Ben? The style of play that you play, you ain't got 5 more years in you, bro.
I don't think so.
You don't play like Tom Brady. You take too many hits. Good luck with that 5-year plan, taking all those sacks and all the hits you take. Good luck. I wish you well, but your style of play doesn't look like 5 more years to me, Rob. Now it might look like that to you, but it doesn't look like that to me.
No, I mean, he's been a fantastic player, but he has had injuries.
Yes.
I mean, he's been banged up, and he sits in there and holds that and takes more hits than anybody because he can shrug them off.
Right.
But I think it was just a mistake in judgment. Look, it's an immature reaction to a player being selected. It's not like when Todd Heap was selected for you. You're a mature man. You could handle that. Obviously, Roethlisberger's been through some of this before, but it's just, strange reaction to somebody that probably is going to help the team.
Well, he still hasn't grown up in his 15th season. I don't know.
Also, I mean, he's hinting at retiring, like you said, every other year.
Yeah.
What do you expect him to do?
What do you expect?
It's not like he's like Tom Brady out here talking like he's going to play till he's 50.
We united, Skip, and then I didn't want to do this. I wanted to clock the ball, but the coaches told me not to. So we know he'll throw
some
people
ownership.
And why would you ever give up information that you and Kevin Colbert had that was between you guys? Why would you ever make that public?
A little emotional. Sometimes you get your feelings. Rob, thanks for joining us. Well, the Cavs sweep the Raptors tonight. We'll discuss that next.